to begin with, I'll tell you how the industry, especially the software industry, is segmented. See, in a software industry, when you joined a IT company, you will be doing some project. Okay. Now that project will be for a client. The clients are basically divided into 5 segments. One is financial services, which has clients like, you can do projects for clients like JP Morgan, Morgan Stanley, Credit Suisse, ICICI Bank, Axis Bank, other banks, insurance companies. That is financial services. Then the other is retail, in which you do projects for, say, Walmart, Big Bazaar. So any retail kind of business, Pantaloon, etc. The third is communication, where you do projects for communication industry like Vodafone, Airtel, etc. Now, here we are going to discuss about Fintech. So financial services is broken down into 3 verticals. The 3 verticals, namely banking, capital markets, and insurance. So, if you see the storyline is that, as I said earlier, one of the IT projects which you will be doing will be under 5 verticals: financial services, retail, oil and gas, communication, government. And then when you are interested in doing a project in financial services, then these are the breakdown in which the projects will be there. So banking projects, capital market projects, and insurance projects. I'll tell you the banking ones to begin with. In banking, you can basically put the clients like ICICI Bank, Axis Bank, Bank of America. So all those institutes or all those organizations which have a banking domain. So banking domain covers the core banking, where, just to explain you in the simple terms, since you are just in college, for example, when you go to a bank, submit, deposit money, withdraw money, deposit the check, or do net banking, those are the activities which are totally taken care by the software. So all these things which you do in core banking are in a banking segment project. The other part is investment banking, where in investment banking, if you go to any bank in India, for example, ICICI Bank, I'm just giving an example, or any bank, then you will see a counter of investment banking. So investment banking is also has its own projects, has its own domain. The third is card services, where you use the debit card or the credit card, and the software takes care of that. So those are the projects which are covered in banking. The other is capital markets. Now in capital markets, these are the projects in a simple term where you do stock trading. For example, ICICI Direct, if you buy a stock, sell a stock, then these are at a high level covered in capital markets. The third part is insurance. So it is, for example, Max Life Insurance, ICICI Prudential. So these are some of the insurance companies which has its own software. For example, if you buy a new insurance premium, the software takes care of it, right? The application takes care of it. Then insurance is divided into life and non-life. So life is basically, it is related to the health and, term policy, which is after death. The non-life insurance are insurance for theft, for car insurance, and several other insurance for which life of a person is not related to. So these are the three segments or 3 verticals in financial services where any project can be put into. The organization these days are valuing and looking forward for subject matter experts. So subject matter expert in banking or capital market or insurance. And that subject matter expert you can become only when you, after a college, when you work in a particular project, and you basically give time and work in the similar kind of domain, say banking domain, you work in core banking, investment banking, card services, all kinds of project for 10, 12 years, then you really understand the whole banking system. If you decide to make a career in capital markets, you really, it is very valued vertical, capital markets, but you have to devote a lot of time and lot of understanding of things, of how the treasury and the other things work in capital markets. In insurance, suppose you do a life or a term insurance software projects, and that is not captured properly, and instead of 15 years, it mentions the software takes 5 years and the maturity amount is given after 5 years. So all those things are very, very sensitive. It's totally related to financials of a person. It is totally related to financials of the organizations. If there is a big glitch, there is a big risk that there can be sue. Sue means someone, a big organization can file a case on the company which is developing a software. So in financial services, if you are planning to make a career, you have to be very vigilant and work very dedicatedly. There is zero error for most of the mistakes. Zero tolerance. Sorry, there is zero tolerance for most of the mistakes, because your mistake can cause lots of financial turbulence to an organization or a person. Okay, so this was the financial services vertical which I told. Now coming to the career point, or how these three verticals have the software in their software applications to cater to banking, capital market, insurance. What happened is that now, since these banking, capital markets or insurance have been since ages, so most of the organizations have developed a full-fledged package for them. Full-fledged package to take care of end-to-end banking, to take care of end-to-end capital market, to take care end-to-end insurance. For example, we have Finacle. The first one, if you see below banking, Finacle is the product by Infosys, Oracle FlexCube, Finastra, eBank. So these are, I just mentioned some of the package, some of the solutions which are provided by organizations. So most of the banks buy these packages and use these for their end-to-end banking. Similarly, in capital markets, you have Calypso, Murex, Finastra. So these are some of the solutions which are used by most of the banks or capital market organizations. In insurance, Guidewire, StreamSuite, Agency Pro, these are again some of the packages which are used by the insurance company. When I say packages, what is happening is the bank or the capital market, the bank, I'll give you the example of bank so you can relate. A bank uses Finacle. So Finacle is a software where it takes care of, or Oracle FlexCube, it takes care of end-to-end banking solution, right from KYC, new customer, KYC, the deposit, credit, card services, end-to-end banking solutions. So it takes care of the whole banking part. When you start a project in financial services, then it is very rare that you will get a opportunity to develop some software on a new software, a new requirement. It is very, very rare. It happens only mostly in my experience when a neobank requires software for their bank, a new bank. Neobank is different. I'm talking about neobank. Neobank is something like Paytm, which doesn't have a physical bank. It doesn't have a banking. You can't see Paytm as a bank physically anywhere, right? You so, but that I mean, keeping the other discussions which the Paytm is having right now with the regulatory, keeping that apart, that was a bank. So similarly, Crew is a neo bank in UK. So when you get a project for these banks, which is a bank from scratch, and they don't want to use these packages, only then you will get an opportunity to develop something from scratch. Otherwise, when you are put in a financial services project in any organization, you will be you will be put in a bank. Example: banking, Finacle; banking, FlexCube; capital market, Calypso; capital market, Murex; insurance, Guidewire. So you will be put in a client which is using Finacle for banking, or a client which is using Calypso for capital markets. So that client has, say, 80 to 100 people at a offshore working. Now, the kind of project which comes, or the kind of work which comes is, if there is an enhancement, or if there is the data flows from Finacle or Calypso to their system, upstream applications or downstream applications, the data comes from somewhere to these packages and goes out from these packages to their system. Then basically doing those kind of projects, doing the testing of those, and if there is a enhancement or enhancement required in these packages, basically there is a protocol where you can't touch the code. You will not get the code for these packages. So you have to interact with Calypso, for example, to do any kind of enhancement, and work closely with them, and see that that enhancement which is done is 100% tested and works properly. So why I wanted to explain this is that these packages are very important, because when you join an organization, you will be put in one of these three: banking, capital markets, and insurance, and among these three you will be put in one of the packages. And in financial services, there are two kind of organizations, I would say. One is where you joined a service industry. Service industry is like Infosys, Accenture, Capgemini, Wipro, Tech Mahindra, where these organizations serve for the clients, like Bank of America. They have their own clients: Morgan Stanley, JP Morgan, Indian domestic client, Bank of Baroda, State Bank, Bank of India, etc. Similarly, in capital markets, there are clients. The insurance, there are clients. So Travelers, others, Max Life Insurance. So these are the service industry which serves for financial services organizations and do projects for them. The other kind of organization is where it is called captive, where you are directly into, say, on a payroll of, you join the IT division of HSBC, for example, Credit Suisse, IT division of JP Morgan, and do the project internally there itself. So in JP Morgan, HSBC, if you join, so HSBC doesn't have a client, right? HSBC has a software group, or the IT department, which caters to their internal applications. So they have internal clients. These are called internal clients. But if you join organizations like Infosys, Accenture, then you are serving for example, HSBC or JP Morgan, then these becomes your external clients. So depending on which kind of organizations you join, the clientele or the mode of client will differ. The first role is package, where you become the expert in one of these packages which is mentioned above. So you become a Finacle expert, you become FlexCube expert, you become Calypso expert, you become Murex expert, you become Guidewire expert. All of the names I'm taking from the above box. Okay. So you become expert and you start learning these packages. I'm just taking one example, Finacle. Suppose you join a bank and you are a Finacle expert. I am on this packages, the role first block packages. So you become a Finacle expert. Now, as a Finacle, you join a Finacle project. You understand how the Finacle works. You understand what are the different modules of Finacle, what are the different pages of Finacle, what is the data flow which happens. The other is software development. Now, as I said, the software development can be for a new bank or the new requirement where a bank or capital markets organization or an insurance company wants to do some inbuilt inbuilt solution, or which takes data upstream. I mean, which takes data which is at the upstream of these packages, or downstream. It takes send data to these packages or take data and put in a certain way to some reporting structure. So there you have to develop the applications of the bank. Now the applications technology varies from bank to bank. It can be in .NET, Java, it can be in Clojure, it can be in Python if it requires lots of analytics. So Python using Panda library and or any other NIMFU library. So that is the role of a software developer. So business analyst is a role, as I said, is of a functional person. So functional person is someone who understands end-to-end banking, capital markets, or insurance. So if you are a business analyst banking, it is your role is taking the requirement from the client and understanding the requirement from the client and translating it to the developer, who are very technical person, the software developers, the second block. So if someone is a technical person in Java or .NET, and that person doesn't have a experience or doesn't have a is not required to be having an experience of financial services domain, because the business analyst bridges that gap. They take the requirement from the client, what kind of requirement what kind of software development is required, and to the technical person who are the coders, they explain it in terms of technology. Database. You can be a database administrator. A database administrator is someone who has a control on the whole backend data, does the clustering, does the database enhancement, or if a new data upstream or downstream new applications are created, how to optimize the data, ensure that the reports which are generated and which picks data from the database, it doesn't require lots of time. You join the cyber security team. Your role will be to ensure that there is a total security of the application, of the data. There is no data leakage. There is no phishing, because it is all, as I said, just imagine if you get the data from a bank of all the customers, their Aadhaar card, their PAN card, how vulnerable that data is. I mean, anyone can do. Just imagine if you have 2 lakh Indian people name, their address, their phone number, their Aadhaar card, their PAN card number, their scanned copy of Aadhaar card and PAN card. Just imagine that kind of data, how vulnerable that data is. So as a cyber security team takes care that there is no data leakage, there is a total data integrity between the applications, and there is no data leakage from the application outside. You, when you join a risk management team, your role is to assess. There are 3 or 4 kinds of risk in financial services. One is credit risk, global risk, market risk. So, for example, global risk, I'll give you the example of a risk which no one had anticipated, COVID. Now that is a risk. It would have factored that this kind of risks or this kind of act of God can happen. Similarly, in an insurance company, there can be a risk of flood, uh, the insurance of a warehouse, for example, is the premium is different if the warehouse is located in a earthquake prone area, flood prone area versus a normal area. So this I'm giving at a very basic level, but there can be a market risk, global risk, credit risk. So you are a uh, you are in a team which takes care of risk management. And in banking, capital markets, insurance, the risk is very important. So the whole risk management team does is, I'm just giving one example, does the risk assessment of the profile, whether this profile is, what is the risk score of this profile. Uh, and then they send it to the relevant team. The relevant team, suppose I applied for a loan of 20 lakh. The relevant team will look at it and they will see key risk. If for the risk, if I've got 10 to 10, then all 20 lakh they will give me as a loan. If they see that I get on out of 20 risk points, I get only 10, 50%. So they will give me far lesser amount as a loan, 10 lakh. Now, the last one is hardware. See, any software which you take or which is there, whether it is package or you develop a code in Java or database, it resides on some hardware, right? Some server, web server, application server, data server. The career in hardware can be you are managing the whole IT department, or you are in the IT team. The IT team manages the servers, which is data server, web server, application server. So these servers, if they are not on cloud, then what physically they are kept somewhere in the organization, okay, or in some location. Now all the applications connect to these servers. Now the role of the people who are into the hardware and managing this is, if ensure that the servers are secured, ensure that the daily backup is taken for the server. Have a there are two kinds of for every server there has to be a backup, and the backup has to be at a different location. So just to give you a very re-emphasize, basically, if you are managing going into the financial services domain in as a part of your career, please, it is a very good career and it is very interesting career. I found it personally very interesting. Thank you.